Joining me on the phone is the former director of the CIA and the NSA, General Michael Hayden. Sir, thanks for joining us. What is your response to former CIA Director Brennan losing his security clearance and the White House, the Trump White House, singling you and others out as possibly being next?
So two elements there. The first is disappointment, all right? Now look, John's been very harsh in his language, and even John knows that it's been at the personal level against the president, but that's just reflecting the deep feelings that John has about the issue, and one expects the president to be the president at all times. And so over there, it's disappointment. But over here, I mean, the way that Sarah Huckabee Sanders rolled this out was almost in a tone to be threatening to the rest of us. In other words, it looks to me like an attempt to make us change the things we are saying when we're asked questions on CNN or other networks. And frankly, for those of us who appear routinely on air, it's not going to have that effect. I certainly try to be respectful for both the office and the person of the president. But, you've got to tell the truth. And if something's not right or not true, you've got to point that out. And that implied threat isn't going to change what I think, say, or write.
The White House said today that John Brennan was being penalized for, quote, erratic conduct and behavior. What's your response to that?
I'm sorry. Again, I do try to make this not personal. But if our standard for having a clearance is avoiding erratic behavior, we've got a lot of other folks we need to look at.
You seem to be suggesting, and I'm reading into this, that President Trump has erratic behavior.
Absolutely. I mean, look, the president may or may not tell the truth, all right? But you cannot question that he is authentic, that what he tweets or says is what it is he feels at the moment. And that's exactly what's going on with John.
Jim Shooter reports that the Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats, former Republican senator, that he was not consulted on this decision at all. What does that say to you about how legitimate the security concerns might actually be here?
Yeah, after this started a couple of weeks back, I had the thought as to what the agencies would do about what had been threatened at that time, because, they have to do things for cause. They just can't make stuff up. So that's the first I've heard that the DNI wasn't consulted, but that's absolutely consistent with my instincts when I first saw the reports of the press conference. But I have to quickly add, this is the president's call. He has absolute authority on this, and so you can't appeal his right to make this decision. I just think, well, let me put it to you this way. I think it's bad for him, not just for some of the other folks who may be involved.
How is it bad for him?
But, I mean, the dignity of the office derives a lot of its power from the dignity of the office that is maintained and the restraint that is exercised by the occupant of the office, even though he's the most powerful man on earth. And I think we saw both of those elements degraded today with regard to dignity and restraint.
But what do you make of the fact that Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, who pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI, he is not on this list for recrimination, but it is rather a list of mostly Democrats, but also some Republicans who have criticized the president?
Yeah, so when you go back to the first announcement, Miss Sanders talked about people like me monetizing our clearance. Now, I'm not exactly sure what that means, but to the degree it means anything, it's a big club. There are an awful lot of former officials who because they continue to have a clearance, are able to contribute in very positive ways that other folks can't. And so the fact that she singled out this group, at that time it was 6, for monetizing their clearances, but not including anyone else, told me it had nothing to do with the so-called monetization. It had everything to do with they wanted us to be quiet or to at least punish us for criticizing the president. To bring two stories that are current full circle and to touch one another, it's almost as if they wanted us to at least implicitly sign a no disparagement agreement.
That's funny. So the message from you to the White House, to President Trump, is you can try to threaten me, try to quell my criticism all you want, but I'm not going anywhere and I'm not going to stop.
No, and look, you and I have talked an awful lot over several years, well before the election, during the campaign. And I certainly am not doing any of this when you ask me a question to intentionally hurt Donald Trump or his presidency. I'm just trying to tell the truth as I see it to be and just let things fall where they may then.
General Michael Hayden, thank you so much for your time, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.